The USA was at war in February 1942, and California is under attack. The Battle of Los Angeles is about to begin. But it's not the Japanese. It's something more mysterious, something that flew above the second largest city in the United States and couldn't be stopped by anything that the US forces could throw at it. In one foul swoop, the fortified Los Angeles had its defenses stripped bare. Were the inhabitants really at the mercy of something from another world? Well, that's exactly what some eyewitnesses reported. I'm David Webb, and this is Yarnhub Mystery. On February the 25th, 1942, at around 1:44, an SCR-268 radar picks up something out at sea to the west of Los Angeles. It's moving fast. No one knows what it is. Could it be a bird? A plane? They suspect the Japanese, and shortly afterwards, another radar station picks it up, and then another. It's now just 20 miles west of Los Angeles. At 2:15, the order's given. Anti-aircraft batteries on green alert. This isn't just war nerves or a result of Pearl Harbor. The Japanese have been active with several American merchant ships attacked just off the coast in recent months. The night before, a Japanese submarine shelled Santa Barbara. The authorities are taking no chances. At 2:21, the order to implement a blackout is given.
We will not go quietly into the night. We're going to live on. We're going to survive.
There's the unnerving sound of an air raid siren. And then another, and then the lights go out across Los Angeles. Searchlights probe the gloom. Tension's high, and the men on the anti-aircraft batteries have itchy trigger fingers. But no enemy contact is found. Where did it go? The unidentified object moves lower and speeds off parallel to the coast. It's watched by radar. The airspace invader slows down, turns north, and hugs the mountaintops and anterior slopes. It's no longer detectable by radar, almost like it knew where the radar signal would be. In a remote part of the woods in the mountains, Bill Stout, a carpenter, has been shipped to the region to help construct the US Navy base. He's been dating a young woman who lives in the mountains, and now he's racing back to base. There's the unmistakable thudding of a flat.
Damn!
We've all been there. Irritated, he jumps out and prepares to change the tire. It's tiring work, and he leans back to take a break. He stares in pure amazement as the object moves overhead. It's huge, it's silent, and it's blocking out almost the entirety of the night sky. The object just moves off in a curve to the southeast. Across Los Angeles, near a 40-mile arc, the residents are all looking skywards, trying to get a glimpse of the supposed Japanese. At around 02:45, residents in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood see what they report as a huge flying object. It's rising over the Santa Monica Mountains. Is it a blimp? Maybe a loose barrage balloon? No, it seems like it's something else. Something in the sky that eyewitnesses describe as a surreal, hanging magic lantern. 4 anti-aircraft batteries that had been facing out to sea suddenly turn inland towards the object. In recent days, there have been other attacks. Just 2 nights prior, a Japanese submarine had surfaced and taken pot shots at an oil refinery in Santa Monica. Could it be that the Japanese are planning an invasion of the mainland United States? The anti-aircraft gunners are keen to take revenge and see off those who would try and do harm to America. The air rattles with thumps and cracks as anti-aircraft guns start firing all over the city. The 37th Brigade unleash hell upon the intruder. Shells scream across the night sky to erupt near the aircraft. The spent shells fell across the city as the 37th continued their defense. Meanwhile, a volunteer air warden called Katie receives a call from her air raid supervisor, ordering her to her post. Looking out of her window, she sees what she later describes as a massive object. It's hovering directly above her house. She said it was huge. It was just enormous. I'd never seen anything like it in my life.
What is
It was just hovering there in the sky and hardly moving at all. Katie also described how she saw American fighter planes trying to intercept the object. She said they were coming in on attack runs, lining up the object, unleashing their weapons, and then pulling out. In the end, the American planes retreated. She said they were shooting at it, but it didn't seem to matter. Across the city, an air raid warden leaves his house. He wakes his child in the process. The 8-year-old boy is called C. Scott Littleton. He gets out of bed and looks outside the window, and he sees a craft in the air. He runs outside and stands in wonder alongside his mother, gaping up at this strange phenomenon. From his view, and lit up by the searchlights, it seems lozenge-shaped. He can see the flak exploding, but none of it's hitting the ship. Instead, it seems to be exploding all around the strange craft. The craft speeds off towards the coast, and young Littleton sees American fighter planes chasing it.
That's so cool.
Near the coast, the 65th Coast Artillery Anti-Aircraft Regiment get their chance at the object. They happily open fire. One of the men said, "I could see 6 planes and shells were blasting all around them. Naturally, all of us fellows, we were anxious to get our 2 cents in, and when the command came, everybody cheered like a son of a gun." It's a direct hit. At least, that's what was reported by the men. The craft, though, continued, seemingly unstoppable, on its way towards the east, where it was seen by Peter Jenkins, the editor of the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner. He said, "I could clearly see the V formation of about 25 silvery planes overhead and moving slowly across the sky towards Long Beach." The police chief of Long Beach, on the roof of the Long Beach City Hall, also saw this sight from the top of the 7-story building. In his own words, "I watched what was described as the second wave of planes. I did not see any planes, but the younger men with me said that they could." An experienced Navy observer with powerful Carl Zeiss binoculars said he counted 9 planes in the cone of the searchlight. He said they were silver in color. The UFO group passed along from one battery of searchlights to another and under fire from the anti-aircraft guns. It flew away from the direction of Redondo Beach and Inglewood on the land side of Fort MacArthur and continued towards Santa Ana and Huntington Beach. Anti-aircraft fire was so heavy, we couldn't hear. What's that? The craft went out to sea and was never seen again, at least by the public. In over 1 hour of shooting, the coastal and civil defense batteries put 1,400 rounds of anti-aircraft ammunition into the heavens. The next day, conflicting reports came in. Was it planes, blimps, or the Japanese? One thing's for sure, America had not been attacked. There were no reports other than the debris of falling American shells, which had caused some damage to buildings, cars and roads, as well as a large number of shell casings and fragments. But the most dangerous threat was unexploded munitions. They littered across Los Angeles. 5 civilians died, 3 in car accidents as chaos reigned, and the stress of the hour-long action had led to 2 fatal heart attacks. But with all the shooting, no enemy planes were shot down. Several Japanese Americans were arrested for trying to signal the craft, which sadly the authorities on Terminal Island took advantage of, expelling Japanese American residents the very next day. Was it real or just overzealous defenders during a time of national crisis? After bravely facing an unknown enemy, facing the public was a new horror to be reckoned with. Just hours after the shooting began, the Secretary of the Navy, Frank Knox, declared the whole event a false alarm. But he did use the same press conference to argue that armaments should be moved inland away from potential Japanese raids. The army, they had a tough time figuring out the cause of the alert. Before even the blackout was lifted, they made a report to Washington, putting doubt on the credibility of reports that were made. 4th Air Force had already said that there were no planes over Los Angeles, but the army had waited a day and spoke to many witnesses. And based upon those witnesses' accounts, the local commanders put forward a different opinion and said that from 1 to 5 unidentified airplanes had flown over Los Angeles. Secretary Stimson announced this conclusion as the War Department's version of the incident, and he put forward two theories to account for the mysterious craft. They could have been commercial planes operated by an enemy from secret fields in California or maybe even Mexico. Or they were light planes launched from Japanese submarines. That's what it'll be. The New York Times joyfully wrote that as the world's preeminent fabricator of make-believe, Hollywood appeared to have played host to a battle that was just another illusion. However, the Los Angeles Times ran the story along with a now iconic photo. The caption under the photo read, "Seeking out object, scores of searchlights built a wigwam of light beams over Los Angeles early yesterday morning. During the alarm, this picture was taken during a blackout. It shows 9 beams converging on an object in the sky of the Culver City area. The blobs of light, which show at the apex of beam angles, were made by anti-aircraft shells." Leland M. Ford, congressional representative of Santa Monica, demanded a congressional investigation, saying none of the explanations so far offered removed the episode from the category of complete mystification. On the 28th of February, the New York Times published an editorial with a pretty good point. If the batteries were firing on nothing at all, as Secretary Knox implies, it's a sign of expensive incompetence and jitters. If the batteries, however, were firing on real planes, some of them as low as 9,000 feet, as Secretary Stimson declares, then why were they completely ineffective? Why did no American planes go up to engage them or even to identify them? What would have happened if this had been a real air raid?
I don't want to know.
Over the years, the evidence has been checked and rechecked. In 1949, the US Coast Artillery Association found in their records what they thought was a meteorological balloon that started all the shooting, and decided that once the firing started, well, imagination created all kinds of targets in the sky and everyone joined in. In 1983, the Office of Air Force History agreed. They said, "A careful study of the evidence suggests that meteorological balloons known to have been released over Los Angeles may well have caused the initial alarm." And the anti-aircraft artillery units were officially criticized for having wasted ammunition on targets which moved too slowly to have been airplanes. In support of those of us that believe that this was a craft with more supernatural origins, several alleged top-secret documents from 1942 were leaked to the public. One of these was a memo from George C. Marshall, the Chief of Staff to the President of the United States. In the memo, it says, regarding the air raid over Los Angeles, it's been learned by Army G2 that Rear Admiral Anderson, through the Office of Naval Intelligence, has informed the War Department of a naval recovery of an unidentified airplane off the coast of California. Further investigation has revealed that the Army Air Corps also recovered a similar aircraft in the San Bernardino Mountains east of Los Angeles, which cannot be certified as conventional aircraft. This headquarters has come to the determination that the mystery airplanes are in fact not earthly, and according to secret intelligence sources, they are in all probability of interplanetary origin. As a consequence, I have issued orders to Army G2 that a special intelligence unit be created to further investigate the phenomenon. What happened to the little boy? Well, C. Scott Littleton became a professor, specializing in mythology and folklore. As an adult, he became an authority on the incident. He said, if, as some people have suggested, it was a barrage balloon that had drifted, these anti-aircraft shells would have torn it to pieces. My guess is that it was surrounded by a force field of some sort that protected it, like something out of Star Wars. Many believe that the truth is being drip-fed to prepare us for something incredible. Maybe even this video is part of that campaign. Just this year, a former intelligence official, David Grush, who led analysis of unexplained anomalous phenomenon, UAPs, within the US Department of Defense, announced that the US has in its possession craft of non-human origin.
You're kidding. No.
Grush said, we're not talking about prosaic origins or identities. The material includes intact and partially intact vehicles. Are these craft at least in part from the Battle of Los Angeles? Let us know in the comments what you think was in the sky in the Battle of Los Angeles. Was it secret planes, weather balloons, the collective nerves of a city, or something that was not from this world? Something alien.